Is CD Projekt a stock to buy now? Today I will analyze CD Projekt company, the company's production plans with a focus on the upcoming release of Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty and my expectations for profits from future Witcher games. What should we expect in the coming years from CD Projekt? Below are my estimates. Soon, in about a week, DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. In 2026, I assume we will receive a smaller Witcher-themed game, Project Sirius, which is being developed by CD Projekt employees at the Boston studio. Then, in 2027, a big Witcher game, the new saga Part 1. In 2028, a remake of Witcher 1, being worked on by the external studio, Fool's Fury. In 2029, another game in the Cyberpunk world, Project Orion. And in 2030, another big Witcher game, the new saga Part 2. In this video, I share my opinion. I am not a financial advisor, so do not consider my analysis as a recommendation to purchase assets. But is it possible that CD Projekt will deliver one Witcher-themed game in 2027 and then in 2030 another one? First, CD Projekt will develop all future games using the Unreal Engine. The company has signed a strategic partnership with Epic Games for the use and development of their engine. This means that CD Projekt will focus on what they are really good at, creating interesting stories for players, rather than developing their own game engine. Another thing is that I expect the upcoming Witcher games to be shorter. I anticipate the game could be about half the length of Witcher 3, which is more or less what was the length of Cyberpunk 2077 game. The main mission and side missions will be around 60 hours instead of 100 hours for The Witcher 3. So the game production process will also require less time. And if you think no one will buy such a short game, I will show you an example. Hogwarts Legacy. It's an even shorter game and has sold over 15 million copies, generating over 4 billion Polish zlotys in revenue so far. So we have two aspects here. Game engine development is outsourced to Epic Games, and the new Witcher games will be shorter. Now, on to the next point. When the company was working on Cyberpunk 2077, there was only one development team. Now, as you can see in this image, CD Projekt plans to divide its teams and what they work on. What sets me apart from all sorts of investment gurus and brokerage analysts? I'm an engineer and I specialize in data analysis. I've been investing in technology companies for over 10 years, and I don't engage in fear-mongering or selling doom. I don't talk about the world collapsing and the need to buy gold and similar prescriptions for everything. I show that investing in technology companies is a path to building wealth and financial freedom. How do I differ from brokerage analysts? First, those analysts focus on the short term, which means what will happen to the stock price in the next 12 months. Many factors affect stock prices in such a short time frame. In the long term, however, the stock price reflects how well the company is doing, whether its revenues and profits are growing. You should also consider how brokerage firms make money through transaction commissions. So they want you to keep selling and buying, changing stocks in your investment portfolio. Think about this next time you rely too much on brokerage recommendations. What's different about my approach? I don't concentrate on short-term periods of just a few months or weeks. My focus lies in the long-term view, extending over several years. I believe it's not worth wasting time on daily stock price chart tracking. I focus on the long-term prospects of companies. I'm interested in the scale of a company's revenues and profits in a few years. I don't care about estimating the exact number of game copies sold, as analysts do. It doesn't make sense because those analysts often make mistakes by millions of units, whereas they assume the exact number of copies in their estimations. So now, here are my revenue and profit expectations for CD Projekt in 2027. It's worth looking at their revenues and profits in the premiere year of Cyberpunk 2077 and what I expect from CD Projekt in 2027. And now After seeing these numbers, why more than 2 times the sales compared to Cyberpunk 2077? First, The Witcher is a much more popular franchise than Cyberpunk 2077. Additionally, the Netflix series about The Witcher will continue to help promote The Witcher world. And of course, inflation and the increase in the average price of a game. I will add here that due to the popularity of The Witcher, marketing expenses shouldn't be as high as they were for Cyberpunk 2077. Therefore, I expect higher margins and consequently net profits. Now another question. Can CD Projekt's stock price rise until the release of the new Witcher Saga game in 2027? After all, there are no big game releases expected in 2024, 2025 and 2026. But it was the same situation after the release of the second expansion for The Witcher 3 in May 2015. No game releases in 2016, 17, 18 and 19. In the meantime, the stock price rose from 25 zlotys to 461 zlotys. Now, I do not expect such a big increase in the stock price, but I expect some rally on the share price of CD Projekt despite the lack of premieres in the meantime. Of course, these are not recommendations to buy. I am just sharing my thoughts. As for the price levels I expect from CD Projekt's shares in 2027, I've shared my expectations with my patrons. You can join to learn about my expectations and find out if I have CD Projekt shares in my investment portfolio, as well as what other companies are in my portfolio. A little more about the recent decisions by the Central Bank of Poland. Interest rates in Poland have been reduced from 6.75% to 6%. The consequence is the weakening of the Polish currency against the dollar, euro and British pound. And how does this relate to CD Projekt? A more expensive dollar or euro means higher profits for exporters, such as game development companies. Thanks to this, these companies have higher margins and higher profits in Polish zloty, whereas they still spend money on salaries in weak Polish currency. So can we say that the Central Bank of Poland helped CD Projekt and 11-bit studios due to their upcoming game releases? And in just around a week, on September 26th, the highly anticipated game Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty will be released. I expect it to be a big success for CD Projekt. This DLC is only coming out on PC and the new generation of consoles, so there is no risk of poorer game performance. In the meantime, tens of millions of new generation consoles have been sold. The latest data shows over 40 million PS5 consoles and over 21 million Xbox Series X or S consoles being sold. My best investments are American and Polish technology companies. I've been transparent about my investments for years. So far, I've earned over $50,000 on Tesla investment, over $20,000 on Apple and Alphabet stocks, and between $10,000 and $20,000 on Facebook, Playway, and 11-bit Studios stocks. Some of these companies are still in my investment portfolio, while others have been replaced by more promising ones. You will find the current composition of my portfolio after joining the group. Do you invest in the best companies as a method of building wealth, or do you rely on a state pension in a few decades? I've been investing in the stock markets for over 10 years. Viewers asked me to create a group where I would show how I invest. There are already dozens of people in the groups in Polish and English. You can join on Patreon. I show the composition of my portfolio, all transactions shortly after they are executed, my analysis and webinars for group members. And if you appreciate the content I produce for you for free and want to show your support and help promote this content, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and you will hear from me again in the next episode. You can also receive my comments more frequently here.